Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to day 4 of my 30-day challenge to post every day for 30 days on YouTube. Today we're talking about protein powder. Does it work? Is it overplayed? Should you use it? If yes, when should you use it? What's the best kind? Talking all about that. First, welcome to a gorgeous New York City night. It's just absolutely amazing out here. June 2018. It's amazing. Love this view. I'm gonna get down now though, just because it's gonna be more comfortable sitting on a chair. So talking about protein, and Cassidy asked on Twitter all these questions. So thank you, Cassidy, for sending that to me on Twitter. By the way, if you have questions you'd like me to answer, tweet them at me at SYATT Fitness, and I will get to as many as I can over these 30 days. Protein powder. The first question a lot of people will ask about protein powder is, does it work? And I always have to ask in response, well, what do you mean by work? What does work mean? And there's always almost a little pause, because usually people are like, I don't fucking know, like, just does it work? And then when they think about it, they're like, okay, well, does it help you burn fat? And I'll say, well, it doesn't necessarily burn fat, but a chicken breast doesn't burn fat either. Nor does steak, nor does fish, nor does any protein necessarily burn fat. So if a protein powder is being sold as a fat burner, that's a lie. But that doesn't mean it won't help you burn fat by increasing your protein intake, which can help build muscle over time, which can help increase your metabolic rate, which can help burn fat. So it's not that the protein powder is going to burn fat directly, but over time, by getting sufficient protein intake and then building muscle and increasing your metabolic rate, yes, you can burn fat. I think what's really important to say is protein powder is no different than chicken breast or steak or eggs or fish or the protein in beans or the protein in chickpeas or the protein in tofu. There's different types of protein. There's whey, there's casein, there's isolate, there's pea protein, there's different types of protein, but what's most important is your net total protein intake throughout the day. That's it. That is the most important thing. And a lot of supplement companies will try and make you think that their protein is special, that it will be absorbed faster, which is good after workout, or that it will be absorbed really slowly and drip in, the amino acids will slowly drip into throughout the night as you sleep, for casein. So like, they'll try and make it seem special for whatever occasion, but when you really look at the research and you really look at the net total effect that it has on people, as long as your protein intake is sufficient, it doesn't fucking matter if you're getting it from a powder or from chicken or from tuna or from steak or from chickpeas or from beans and rice. Like, it doesn't matter. Just make sure your calories are in check and your protein are in check. Now, that doesn't mean protein powder doesn't work, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't take it. The major benefit of protein powder, in my opinion, is the convenience of it, where maybe it's 8 o'clock at night, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, you already had dinner, you are not in the mood to eat a hunk of meat or fish, or you don't want to make eggs, and you could just toss a scoop or two of protein into a shaker cup, and now you've got 25, 30, 50 grams of protein. Boom. Helps you hit it very, very quickly, very, very easily on the run, on the go. Personally, I don't drink too many shakes or have too many bars, just because I love food. I would way rather eat a steak, or way rather take the time to cook some eggs, or way rather take the time to get a nice salad and put some tuna on top. I would prefer that. However, there are times where I'm in a rush, I got a jet, and I'll just, boom, scoop up a protein powder, put it in a shake and go. That's the major benefit of it. So in terms of the best time to take it, is it worthwhile? the worthwhileness is really going to depend on you. If you get enough protein through whole foods, you don't need it. Doesn't mean you shouldn't take it or shouldn't have it just in case there's a day where you're in a rush, but if you're getting enough throughout the day, you don't need it. In terms of the best time to take it, generally speaking, again, as long as your net total intake throughout the day is good, is sufficient, you're fine. It's not a big deal. I think there is something to be said for sandwiching your workouts with protein, making sure that around training you're having protein and honestly some carbs as well, just to fuel your training and recover. But it's not that big of a deal as long as you have a sufficient net total amount of protein that is enough for your needs. Now, I know a lot of people are going to ask about that. So personally, I used to say 1 gram per pound of your body weight. Through more recent research that's come out, I'm much more inclined to say as long as you have a minimum of 0.7 grams per pound of lean body mass. And that brings up, well, how do you find all that out? You can Google how to find out your pound of how much lean body mass you have. For sake of easiness, for like the sake of just of a good understanding, take a weight that you would see yourself as a very lean six-pack, like that's where you're leanest. Think of that weight and then multiply that weight by 1. That would be a good number, like a good fail-safe number to follow. So for example, let's say you weigh 175 right now and you know that at 150 you're gonna be really lean, like you don't have to be shredded, but very low body fat. So 150 grams of protein would be really good. You're fine. You don't need to go all the way up to 175, but 150 would be great. The other thing, I'm trying to remember the last part that I wanted to discuss about protein. Oh, there are many different types of protein. Many different types. The 2 major ones that you're going to see in not grocery stores, but supplement stores online are whey and casein. You'll also see egg proteins, and you'll see pea proteins and vegan proteins and all that stuff. That's fine. The 2 major ones that you see are whey and casein. Whey is a fast digesting protein. I'm not 100% sure. I'm almost positive it's about 10 grams per hour. So about for every hour after you have whey, about 10 grams of it will be absorbed. Casein, on the other hand, is a slow digesting protein. And again, I'm not 100%. I think it's about 2 to 3 grams per hour are absorbed by your body. Now, basically, the old school methodology, the old school thought was because whey is a faster digesting protein, it would be optimal to have it right before and right after you work out because your muscles can absorb it more quickly. And when I say it, I'm sure a lot of people are like, well, yeah, that makes sense. But that's a logical fallacy just to believe that because it sounds like it makes sense. We have to look at the research. Now, before we talk about that, casein, on the other hand, is slower digesting. So the old school method, like the thought process was, well, since you're sleeping for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours a night and you're not eating, it's better to have casein during nighttime because you can have a slow, steady release of amino acids throughout the night, and it will help just keep it so you're never really without amino acids in your system. Whereas a whey, like if it's 10 grams an hour after 2 hours, if you have 20 grams or 25 grams after 2.5 hours, like you no longer have amino acids going through. So that's where casein was thought to be better. If you really look at the research, it's not that big of a deal either way. And this is why, for example, like in the inner circle, my inner circle members, I only say, I want you to focus on your calories and focus on your protein. And that's it. That's for your nutrition, calories and protein. I don't give a fuck about carbs and fats. That's not to say carbs and fats don't matter. And it's not to say that you shouldn't eat carbs and fats. And it's not to say that you can have as many carbs and fats as you want regardless of calories. What it is saying is, once your calories are in check, that's number 1, calories first, and your protein is met, you can have as many carbs and fats as you want as long as it fits within your total calorie range, because you're not going to go over your energy needs, right? So have as many as you want within that range and you're fine. It simplifies all of this. It makes it so much easier. Calories number 1, protein number 2, boom, carbs and fats, don't worry about it. Just make sure your calories and protein are in check. Your carbs and fats will fall into place. A lot of times people will say, excuse me, People will say, well, how do I know like which one I'm better on? Some people do better with more carbs, some people do better with more fat. Test it out. You know, rice and potatoes and pasta and bread and cereal, these are all carb heavy foods. So if you really want to test how you feel on them, focus on those for 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and keep fats lower. And then to do a good test, then switch. Focus more on avocado and whole eggs and fattier fish like salmon. Focus more on fattier foods and lower carbs. And then you can see, okay, maybe I feel better on training days with higher carbs and on rest days with lower carbs and more fat. Maybe you just feel better with higher carbs all the time, or maybe you feel better with lower carbs all the time, or maybe if you're very overweight, you'll feel better with lower carbs and higher fat, but as you get leaner and more carb sensitive, more insulin sensitive, then you'll actually do better with higher carbs and lower fat. You know, who knows? The only person that can know is you, and my goal is to help you build up enough confidence in yourself to fucking test this stuff. Test it. Don't hold back. Just go test it. Don't feel like you have to read it in an article online, or you have to read it in a book or a magazine or get permission. Test. You are your own experiment. Test it. Just be as objective as possible. Don't do it for a day and quit. Don't do it for a month but have 50%, 60%, 70% be inconsistent. You have to treat it like a real experiment to really get the best results, to really get subjective, accurate data. So in terms of protein, if you're not meeting your daily protein needs and protein powder will help, by all means go for it. If you're eating enough through Whole Foods, you don't need it, but you're more than welcome to have it just in case you're in a pinch. It's not better or worse than Whole Foods, it's just different and more convenient. And that's it. I hope this helped. This was day 4. Tomorrow's gonna be day 5, obviously. Thank you, Captain Obvious. That's that. Any questions, tweet at me at Syatt Fitness, Syatt Fitness. Love you, YouTube. Have a good one.